Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and one of the most common requests that I've been getting lately is, can you do something with lupin flower? I'm not sure why lupin flower has become the new shiny object in the keto world. It's been around for a while, and I started playing around with it last year with fairly limited success. It wasn't until I had done my new tortilla recipe, which I'll link to up here, that I discovered that there's sort of a magic ratio in terms of lupin flower. That amount is about 25% of your total dry ingredients. If you go beyond that, you start getting kind of a dense, earthy, tasting, bitter outcome. Now, I've had people tell me that there are different varieties of lupin flower and that I should be looking for sweet white lupin flower. However, when you go out on Amazon and you search for sweet white lupin flower, you get all the brands. So in this video, I am going to compare 3 different brands of lupin flower. We have Miracle Flower, which so far is the only one that I've used. Lupina, I believe is how you pronounce it. And we have Small Town Specialties. This is actually the only one that states on it, sweet white lupin flower. The way that I'm going to test this is by making 3 different chaffles. The reason I'm doing chaffles instead of a full loaf of bread is I figure that Dash Mini gives me kind of a little laboratory, kind of a easy bake oven for grown-ups, where I can experiment, I can see what the baking outcome is going to be like, I'll get a feel for the taste of lupin flower once it's been baked, and if it doesn't turn out, I don't have a lot of waste. Also then, just as a baseline, I'm going to make 1 chaffle with almond flour. I'll be using the food processor method where I process the mozzarella, in this case 30 grams, along with our flour, half a tablespoon. Now normally I wouldn't measure this out on a digital scale, but I want to make sure that the only variable in these chaffles is our flour. We'll add our egg, 30 grams, and then we will process this into a batter. On the left, we will have our almond flour chaffle, and on the right we have our Miracle Flower. Let's see what they look like. Looking pretty decent, standard looking chaffle. Miracle Flower, a little lighter in color, seems to have expanded just a tiny bit more. On the left we have the Lupina, and on the right the Small Town Specialties. I can tell you the batter seems a lot more thin on this. All right, let's give these a look. We have the Lupina and the Small Town Specialties. In terms of the final product, almond seems to be the darkest, probably followed by Lupina, then Miracle Flower. Without a doubt, the lightest one is the Small Town Specialties. But how do they taste? So first we have the almond flour chaffle. Nothing especially spectacular about the texture. And the taste, honestly, not that different from a regular chaffle, pretty nondescript. Next, we have the Miracle Flower chaffle. This definitely has some more spring to the texture. It really kind of is a little bit elastic as I'm pulling it apart. It doesn't taste nearly as eggy or as cheesy as the almond flour one, and there's just a hint of bitterness at the tail end. I kind of pick it up on the very back sides of my tongue, but not bad. Then we have the Lupina. This has sort of a similar tear to it when I rip it apart. I'm not getting that bitterness at the tail end like I did with the Miracle Flower. I kind of like this. Again, not picking up a whole lot of egg flavor. I think I'm getting a little bit more of the mozzarella than I did with the Miracle Flower. And lastly, we have the Small Town Specialties, which if you recall is the only one that was labeled sweet white lupin flower. Definitely more pliable. And all of these cooked for the exact same length of time. There's a much lighter flavor to this. The texture also doesn't seem quite as dense as the others. Yeah, definitely a lighter taste. I think that the others had more of a hearty sort of a taste to them, for lack of a better word. So I just gave them a second taste through, and definitely the Miracle Flower is my least favorite of them. It's the only one that had sort of that bitter edge at the end. The Lupina had a little bit more of that hearty type of flavor, the sort of thing that I would kind of expect to see in a heavier bread, a wheat bread, for example. Small Town Specialties, lighter texture, lighter flavor. I think if you're trying to do something that's maybe a cake or a white bread, that the Small Town Specialties is probably the way to go. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more robust, a little bit more dense, Lupina seems pretty good. I wish that I could say that there was a clear-cut, all-purpose sort of winner in these. I can tell you though, Miracle Flower, probably not your best bet. I think you're safe either way with Lupina or Small Town Specialties, but give some thought to how you're going to be using it in terms of baking. If you're doing something that probably leans closer to a white bread, I would go with Small Town Specialties. If you're leaning towards something that's a little bit heartier, more wheat-like, I would go with the Lupina. Based on this little taste test experiment, I think that I'm probably going to go with the Small Town Specialties Lupin Flower for the hot dog bun that I'm working on. Hopefully you found this helpful if you're trying to decide which brand of Lupin Flower you should buy. If you like this video, click that like button. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. If you want to be notified whenever I release a new video, tap that bell and select all notifications. And if you're interested in supporting the Serious Keto Test Kitchen, click that join button and see what some of the options are. Thanks for watching.